Hi everybody, I'm Sid.
I'm Mackie.
Welcome back to our channel.
Today we are going to show you guys how we pack our bikes
to go on an airplane.
An international trip. Yeah, to go on an airplane. We'll talk a little bit about sort of the extra parts that we bring. We'll sort of mention that, but primarily just show you how you want to pack your bike so that it's protected, so that the TSA doesn't destroy it when they search it, because they're probably gonna search it.
Jack has something to say on the subject.
What do you think, Jack? Yeah?
That's how Jack feels about the TSA.
Mm-hmm. So these are the bike bags we use. It's the Shimano Pro Mega Travel Case. I don't remember. It's got a funny name. Basically, it's a nice bike case.
We like it because it has a frame, which Mackie will show you.
Yeah, we can show you on the inside. It also has wheels.
Which all of my wheels have fallen off, but somehow Mackie's are still
Yeah, mine
intact.
are still on.
We fly a lot with our bikes. These cases have been through a lot of abuse from our favorite TSA agents.
Yeah.
So this is sweet. You pull out the frame, and then you put your bike in the frame.
And then
Boom,
put it back in.
And you put it back in, and there's all sorts of handy straps that we will show as we go through this process. Mackie's getting the bike into the frame. This is step numero uno.
Actually, step numero uno was taking off the pedals.
Oh yeah. Hey.
Always take off your pedals first.
Jack. Yeah, take off the pedals first, because once you get into...
You're really gonna be sad.
You don't have the leverage once you're into the frame. You have to kind of wrestle these in. You also, if it's their first time using a bike bag that has a frame like this, you have to adjust it so it's the proper length for your bike. Which actually...
we may
have to do, because we haven't flown with this particular bike.
Yeah.
It's looking... I wonder if this bike's like too long for this case. Now you got an inch in the back. You can move it back an inch. Actually, looks pretty good. Another thing that we will do here shortly is put some shims in the brakes. It's a bummer if your brakes get pulled and there's nothing in there. We have these sweet little pouches called, oh, come on, focus, there we go, called the Piggy from 76 Projects. Got all of our spares in it. Also has CO2, that's a cat tail, by the way, if you're wondering what that black thing in the frame is, that is Jack's tail. He is always super involved when we're doing anything out here in the driveway. We have, anyway, we keep all our spares in here so they're on our bike, so whatever pack we take, we don't have to worry about changing, but we have CO2 cartridges in here. A lot of places will not let you fly with your CO2 cartridge. Cat CO2 cartridge. What do you think, Jack? Is it okay to go on the plane? We always make an honest effort, or a dishonest effort, to bring CO2s with us, because we don't like buying CO2s. If you are going to attempt to cheat the system, don't put them in something you're attached to. That's why I just took them out of the Piggy. I would be really sad if TSA took my whole Piggy when they wanted to confiscate my CO2 cartridges. So we're gonna take them out. We often put them in water bottles. I don't know why this works, but it does seem to work. It fools the x-ray machine. Hopefully you will do good things with that information, like bring your CO2s to Europe. All right, we have a water bottle full of CO2 cartridges.
Hopefully they don't take our water bottle.
Let you know if we get away with it.
All right, we've got the bicycle on the frame. I'm gonna put the seat down because I know I need to do that.
If you don't have a dropper post, you will probably need to either take your seat post all the way out or slam it into the frame, whichever you prefer.
Yeah. Next step is I'm gonna remove the bars. And a trick we have learned is mark your stem so that you know what straight is. That little red dot shows me what straight is, so I can take this off, and when I put it back on, I don't have to wonder if I've got it straight or not.
We also have a placement for like pretty much everything else marked on our bars as well. So if stuff gets bumped in transit, we can get it back to perfection. In transit or crashing or, you know, however else.
I'm gonna take my stem off, but first, because I have Di2, I'm going to disconnect my little Di2 wires to the battery and to the rear derailleur. So then...
this is the step where you put the cat in the bag.
Yeah. Okay, another trick we've learned, Jack, is so that your fork doesn't slide, or your frame doesn't slide up and down on the steer tube, we just use additional headset spacers. And I put the blue one in to show me where my spacers end. Or I guess begin again, because I have 2 little spacers on the top. So then you can just put your stem cap back down. And now it stays all nicely together. Now I'm going to lift the frame, get the whole bicycle in. Put this out here. And then using these straps, I will strap it into place. Next step is this part.
Frame protector.
Yeah, frame protector. And then it goes around the front here. And then this gets strapped right here so that it doesn't flop around. And then we have these,
More foam.
which we added to protect the fork from the handlebar.
We don't worry too much about our frame being scratched, as you can tell, especially with these prototype frames. The paint is already basically coming off. However, the one thing you really don't want to get scratched in transit is your fork stanchions.
Yeah.
That affects the way that your fork operates and is more than an aesthetic concern.
Then there's a little strap that hooks around there to hold it in
Keeps it all in
place.
place, and also around the C-tube.
Just like this. So now everything is held in place. I actually have decided that I'm going to take my derailleur off because this bike is so long, you can see the derailleur is getting smashed into the back. So it turns out I didn't actually have to release my derailleur all the way. I released it most of the way until the pin that presses against the derailleur hanger was far enough up, and now I was able to move it forward and then tighten it again. So it's still held in place. I just am gonna have to readjust it when I get back, but it's not dangling around, which I appreciate.
At this point in the process, we put all the other stuff in the bike bag. The wheels go in last once we've zipped up the frame compartment. So now we're gonna put in all the stuff that we wanna bring along with our bike.
First, your pedals. Do not forget these. You will be really sad.
Yeah.
If you use pedal washers, which we do, zip tie them to your pedal because otherwise you will lose them. And then we wrap them up so that they don't beat anything else up. And then go in here. CO2s we'll deal with later. So some of the spares that we're bringing are some tire levers.
Tools.
Yeah, spare tools, basically a crank or a cassette tool and a tubeless tool, things that are hard to find that you really are bummed about if you don't have. A set of cable cutters so that we can do changes. Basically, you can usually find a shop where you can do this stuff, but things that are easy to carry, it's much better to just bring your own tools so that you don't have to find a shop every time you need to do anything.
And a shock pump.
Shock pump.
Should we talk about how we don't let air out of our suspension for traveling?
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. Why don't we bother?
Because it's not going to go up that much. Well, okay, it's going to go up when you're up at 10,000 feet or 20,000 feet or whatever, but we're not.
But it also is still pressurized.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure where the bikes and all your luggage goes is still somewhat pressurized. Otherwise, everything would explode, right?
I think so. And also just the forks, we aren't running the pressures anywhere close to the maximum pressure of the fork. So if it goes up, it's not a big deal. It'll just go back down when we get, when we're going, and then we'll check it when we get there. The other thing is a rotor or a center, bottom bracket tool. But for us, it's a center lock tool because we always remove our
rotors
because it really sucks if you get somewhere and you have bent rotors and then you have to replace them. Create a rotor box. So
some cardboard.
Our rotors just go in here, back to back, and then back in there.
Along with our bike, we are also going to put in our riding pack, half shell helmet, full face helmet, and shoes. So basically all of our kit except for clothes. A note about weight limits for bikes. Usually if you're flying out of the US, it's 75 pounds. You are paying $150 to $175 for your bag. If you want to try to dodge those fees, you can't use a bag like this because it's too big. So you'd have to do a frame bag and a wheel bag, and even then you often get stuck with fees. So we long ago, once we had any disposable income whatsoever, gave up on trying to dodge the bike bag fees because it really just leads to more heartache than help in our experience. Occasionally, even doing it like this, we get lucky. We've had the check-in agents forget to charge us or not realize you have to be charged. So number one key, keep it under 75 pounds. 2, keep your mouth shut if it looks like they're forgetting to charge you, because sometimes they do, and that's awesome. It's also worth noting that some international airlines have different baggage requirements. So for your return trip, you can get really jammed if you bring too much stuff, and then for your outgoing flight, for some reason they're like happened to us in New Zealand last year, they're charging you like $20 per kilogram over like 50 pounds. I don't know how many that is kilograms. Someone tell me in the comments, please. So that's worth looking into. We have not looked into that for our return trip, so hopefully we're okay. We pretty much need everything we're bringing, so we'll make it work one way or another.
Note on tires, you should let some air pressure out, only because it makes them fit better.
They're probably not going to explode.
You don't have to worry, especially.
We try to keep the bead locked on because it's a pain if you don't.
So it's maybe 10 or 15 PSI at this point, which is fine. It won't go up enough to make a difference.
Another note about the TSA, or whatever the security is called in your country, they don't care that much about your stuff. They just don't. So while if something big like a shoe falls out of your bag, they will probably get it back in there. You don't want small parts floating around. I learned this the hard way when I lost an end cap off of one of my wheels. They were detachable end caps. It was a prototype set of wheels. Fell off the wheel and then must have fallen out of the bag when it was being searched. And I literally didn't have a rideable bike because there were no other end caps. Luckily this was on our way back, but it was still a bummer. So if you have removable end caps on your wheels, put some zip ties on that. If you have washers on your pedals, zip ties. If you have any sorts of other little parts, make sure your pedals are in a pocket or something. You don't want anything to be able to fall out when it is opened by TSA, which it probably will be because they love pawing through bikes.
So there you guys have it. That's how we pack our bikes. Tried to share with you guys a couple of tricks that we've learned just to make things easier, and so they don't take stuff that doesn't need to be taken, that isn't actually dangerous. Another quick note is we learned this a while ago. We were using Vittoria's sealant, which was called TNT, which stands for tubes, no tubes.
Clever name.
Turns out
bad for flying.
TNT, not something the TSA is into. So if you have something like sealant that has ammonia in it, they apparently don't like that either. If you just take off the sealant, wrap it like the label, they don't know what it is, and they check that it's not a dangerous chemical, and then they let it through. So if you're worried, just take the label off. That will get it through, and it's not a big deal. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next Monday.